Have you ever been completely lost in a massive high-end video game? I mean those moments where you are entirely immersed, staring at the screen, and, for a few hours, the real world just fades away. Inside that digital universe, your character has to follow a very strict set of rules. They are bound by the game's physics engine. They can only jump so high, run so fast, and they absolutely cannot walk through walls because the code dictates their reality. But you, the person holding the controller, sitting comfortably on the couch with a cup of coffee, you don't follow those rules at all. You exist entirely outside the console.
It is a perfect way to frame one of the most unsettling questions in modern science. When you are playing that game, the character on the screen has no concept of the couch, or the coffee, or the living room. To the character, the rendered environment is the absolute limit of existence. And what is truly mind-bending is that some of the brightest minds in theoretical physics are starting to suggest that our actual physical universe might operate on the exact same architecture. We might be looking at reality from the inside of the console, completely unaware of the living room just beyond our perception.
Exactly. And that brings us to the core of what we are diving into today. It sounds like pure science fiction, but it is actually a highly sophisticated framework proposed to solve one of the most notorious, hair-pulling mysteries in quantum physics: the measurement problem. The proposed solution is known as the two worlds interpretation. And if we really unpack what this theory suggests about who we are and what reality is, it completely shatters how we perceive our everyday lives.
The measurement problem has been the elephant in the room of quantum mechanics for nearly a century. If you break the universe down to its smallest parts, electrons, photons, quarks, they do not behave like solid objects. When we are not looking at them, they exist in a state of probability. They are blurry, undefined, existing in a cloud of maybe. But the very second we observe them, the second we measure them, they instantly snap into a definite solid state. It makes absolutely no intuitive sense. Why should a particle care if we are looking at it?
Right. It is as if the universe is only rendering the graphics when you turn the camera to look at it, just to save processing power. Which brings us right back to the video game. But to truly grasp the two worlds interpretation, we have to start with how the universe is supposedly built. We have to talk about the holographic movie film. How does a three-dimensional, deeply complex universe translate into a flat piece of film?
To understand that, we have to look at the holographic principle, which stems from the work of pioneering physicists like Gerard 't Hooft and Leonard Susskind. The principle suggests something incredibly counterintuitive. All the three-dimensional information of our universe, every star, every planet, every atom in your body, might actually be encoded on a two-dimensional surface at the farthest edge of the cosmos. Or, to use a cinematic metaphor, it is the movie reel. The film itself is just a strip of flat plastic coated with ink and chemicals. It holds the potential for a story, but it is not the story. To actually see the movie play out, to experience the motion and the drama and the reality of it, you need something else. You need a projector light. And crucially, the projector light cannot be printed on the film. It has to exist entirely outside of it.
So the universe is the film, and reality as we experience it is the projection. But that immediately forces a massive question. If the universe is just the flat plastic film waiting to be illuminated, what is the light? And more importantly, where do we fit into this? Are we the flat ink on the film, or are we the light?
According to the two worlds interpretation, the answer is that there isn't just one version of you. There are two, and they exist in completely different states of reality. Let's call them version A and version B. Version A is your avatar. This is the biological body you walk around in. It is made of atoms, molecules, and particles. Because it is made of physical matter, it is completely bound by the weird, fuzzy, probabilistic laws of quantum mechanics. Without observation, version A exists in that state of maybe.
So version A is the character on the screen, jumping around, bound by the game's code. It is entirely embedded inside the space-time of our universe.
Precisely. Now, version B is the player on the couch. Version B exists entirely outside of our space-time continuum. It does not follow quantum laws. It is not made of atoms. and it is not subject to physical decay. Version B is the consciousness. It is the projector light shining through the holographic film.
That is a staggering thought. It fundamentally flips the biological narrative. We are so used to thinking that our brains create consciousness, that atoms arranged in a complex enough way suddenly wake up and start thinking. But this theory suggests the exact opposite. The consciousness exists first, outside the system, and it is simply projecting itself into the avatar.
And this is exactly how the theory elegantly solves the measurement problem. Think back to the bizarre behavior of quantum particles, how they remain fuzzy probabilities until they are observed. Physics has struggled for decades to define what constitutes an observer. Does a camera count? Does a mouse count? The two worlds interpretation says that particles stop being fuzzy and become solid reality, specifically because the player outside the game is watching the avatar inside the game. The act of the projector light hitting the film is what collapses the probability into a definitive reality.
So the universe isn't just magically knowing when a human eye is looking at a microscope. It is that the fundamental nature of observation comes from outside the physical system. The light hits the film, and the scene renders. But wait, if we talk about quantum possibilities and different outcomes, my mind immediately jumps to the multiverse. Pop culture is obsessed with the many worlds interpretation right now. The idea that every time I make a choice, the universe splits, and there is a version of me that drank tea instead of coffee, living out a whole different life in a parallel dimension. Is the two worlds theory just another flavor of the multiverse?
Not at all, and it is a crucial distinction to make. The multiverse, or the many worlds interpretation, is a fascinating mathematical concept, but it presents a deeply fragmented view of identity. In the multiverse, there are billions of copies of you, doing billions of different things across an infinite spectrum of realities. It suggests a kind of cosmic hoarding, where the universe keeps every single draft of every single event. The two worlds interpretation is much more focused. It states that there is only one real you, and that is the player, version B.
So even though the avatar, version A, has a near infinite number of quantum possibilities laid out before it, there is only one conscious observer holding the controller.
Exactly. The film might contain the data for countless different scenes, but the projector light can only shine through one frame at a time. The player is only experiencing one linear progression of reality. There are no parallel yous living out the choices you didn't make, because there is only one source of light.
That feels strangely comforting, actually. It anchors your identity. But it does raise a massive mechanical question. In quantum physics, we know that a particle can be in a state of superposition, meaning it technically exists in multiple states or locations at once until it is measured. If I come to a crossroads and I choose to go left, the right path was a mathematical probability. If we aren't creating a parallel universe where I went right, where does that unchosen possibility go? How does the universe handle the data of the paths not taken?
That is where we have to look at how systems manage information, which brings us to another brilliant gaming analogy, the autosave feature. Think about what happens when you are playing a game and you reach a checkpoint. You have spent the last hour exploring, making choices, moving objects around. Before the checkpoint, your character could have died, could have gone a different route, could have failed the mission. All those possibilities were active in the game's immediate processing memory. But the moment you hit that checkpoint, the game saves your current state as the definitive reality.
And it dumps everything else. The game doesn't keep processing the scenario where I failed the mission in the background. It just clears it out to save RAM.
That is exactly the mechanism proposed here. When the player makes a choice and observes a specific outcome, the unchosen paths are not just hidden away in some alternate dimension. They are formatted. They are completely erased from the universe's hard drive. In physics terms, this is often discussed in relation to objective reduction theories. It suggests that this isn't a magical collapse of a wave function, which has always been a problematic term. Instead, it is a wave function update.
A wave function update. I like that phrasing much better. It implies a system maintaining itself.
Yes, the universe essentially reformats the unchosen possibilities down to mathematical zero. It clears the board so that the player can focus entirely on the current scene. It is a highly efficient universe. Gravity, or whatever external mechanism bridges the gap between the two worlds, forces the quantum system to reset to the new reality. The past possibilities are scrubbed clean, leaving only the crystallized present.
It is astonishing how well the digital analogies map onto the deepest layers of theoretical physics. We used to compare the universe to a clockwork mechanism, then to a steam engine, and now to a computational projection. It makes you wonder if our technology is just subconsciously mimicking the underlying structure of reality. But stepping back from the mechanics of wave function updates and quantum erasure, the philosophical weight of this theory is just staggering.
It demands a complete reevaluation of what we consider to be real. We spend our entire lives obsessing over the physical world. We worry about our bodies, our possessions, the physical space we occupy. We measure our success and our existence by the accumulation of atoms. But if the two worlds interpretation holds any truth, then the atoms are the least real part of who we are.
That is the ultimate paradigm shift. If this is true, it means the real you, the core of your identity, is not made of carbon and water. You are not a temporary biological machine that accidentally generated a spark of awareness. The real you is the observer. You are the immovable, indestructible consciousness standing completely outside of space and time, simply watching this 3D holographic movie play out. It makes the struggles of the avatar seem, well, not meaningless, but certainly less absolute.
It provides a profound sense of detachment, but also a deep sense of purpose. You are here to experience the film. You are the light that gives the universe its color, its motion, its reality. Without the player, the universe is just a cold, dark, two-dimensional boundary of unexpressed mathematics. The observer is not a passive bystander. The observer is the crucial ingredient that makes reality real.
It is a beautiful way to look at existence. We are the light bringing the code to life, but I cannot help but be left with one lingering, almost terrifying thought. If we are the ones holding the controller, if we are the projector light shining through the holographic film to create this incredibly detailed, immersive 3D reality, who or what created the film?
That is the threshold where physics puts down its pen and philosophy has to take over. Science can trace the math back to the 2D boundary of the universe. It can theorize the projector and the light. But the origin of the film itself, the architect of the code, remains the ultimate mystery. We can map the edges of the simulation, but we cannot see the hands of the programmer.
And maybe that is the whole point of the game, to keep playing, keep projecting, and keep trying to figure out the rules until we finally understand the nature of the console itself. It is a lot to process, but it certainly makes you look at the world and yourself in a completely different light. Keep observing, keep questioning, and we will catch you in the next reality update.